The furry fandom, an amazing community made up of some of the nicest and most talented individuals you would have the pleasure of meeting. A community that spans all over the world, holding many events and huge conventions, some of which catch the eyes of the very city they are hosted in. One convention, Anthrocon, captures the heart of the entire city and the people that live there. So let's dive deep into this well-loved furry convention to see how it ticks and what you can expect from it as an attendee. To understand Anthrocon and what you can expect from this convention, we first have to dive a little into the history of the con, leading up to present day. So going back in time, Anthrocon literally started out as a party in a dorm room in 1996 at the Rensselaer Polytechnical Institute in Albany, New York. The convention was founded in 1997 as Albany Anthrocon, which itself was an offshoot of the furry Halloween parties held by Aloyan Youngblood. When attendance pushed its triple digits, he decided to book a hotel and organized it as a convention in 1997 with the aid of his local friends Points, Regal, and others. In its first year, it had approximately 500 attendees at the Omni Albany Hotel. In late of 1998 to 1999, the chairman of the convention was transferred over to Dr. Samuel Conway, aka Uncle Kage by Points, and then formally organized the group as Anthrocon Incorporated, later renaming the convention to Anthrocon. They then relocated the con to Pennsylvania, with its first venue being the Hilton Hotel of Valley Forge in 1999 and 2000. An ever-growing fandom and several venue changes later, we arrive at this year's Anthrocon, held on July 4th through 7th, 2024 at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The theme for this year was Anthrocoaster, a fun theme with some amazing setups. This year marked a monumental moment for Anthrocon, in that its attendance grew by 30% from last year, with a total of 17,639 attendees, and thus reclaiming its title from MFF as the biggest con in the world. So now that I brought us all up to present day Anthrocon, some other highlights and stats worth mentioning is that the con brought into the city of Pittsburgh in terms of revenue an estimated $17.4 million in spending over the weekend. Just take a moment and digest that number. It's unreal, and you wonder why the city loves us furries. Also, Anthrocon did break another record, raising over $100,000 for the charity Grey Paul Sanctuary. Both truly amazing feats in itself. Now that we decided to go to Anthrocon, how do we get there? Well, one added bonus for many is that Anthrocon is located in the Northeast and easily accessible from a majority of states via car. So one thing I did miss about living back in the Northeast is that there are so many things that are within driving distance, and many states border one another in close proximity. For this year, I took to the road, driving from the Delaware, Pennsylvania area all the way up to the con via the Pennsylvania Turnpike. The drive was super easy to navigate, with a total driving time around 4 hours and 45 minutes on one tank of gas. The parking situation is pretty easy as well, given most hotels will give you either a self-parking or valet option when you arrive. I was in the main hotel this year, so self-parking was around $28 a night with no in-and-out privileges, or $41 a night for valet parking with full access to your car as you please. I opted for the valet parking because the drive was actually pretty cheap and I didn't want to have to fight for parking and hauling all that huge amount of luggage I brought up on my own. Also, I wanted to note that there are plenty of parking options beside those at the hotel, which you can view on the Anthrocon's public parking map on Google to see what's nearby. Now, if driving is not an option, the closest major international airport to the convention is the Pittsburgh International Airport, airport code PIT. It is highly recommended due to its variety of airlines, its proximity, and the availability of public transportation. The Arnold Palmer Regional Airport, LBE, may be a consideration from those traveling from Florida, but requires a car rental and over an hour of driving to reach Pittsburgh. Still, I will note that the Pittsburgh airport isn't super close, so it'll be about roughly 25 to 45 minutes depending on what option you take. Your transit options for the airport include the 28X Airport Flyer, Z-Trip, Taxi, Uber and Lyft, and more, all of which can be laid out on Anthrocon's website. You also have the additional option of a bus and train via Greyhound and the Pittsburgh Rail Station, but that is reserved for members more so in the Northeast areas that aren't flying. Now, speaking of traveling around, this is the perfect time to make note of the layout of the main hotel and the other hotels under the con room blocks. Anthrocon is very special in that it pretty much devours the city whole, taking almost any available space it can for its attendees. So much so, Anthrocon has a record 22 partner hotels in its room block that you can choose from. And I will say though, all these hotels are spread out far and wide across the city, some within a minute walk, to some a fair 10 to 20 minute distance, to others being somewhat unwalkable. Thankfully, there is a solution created by Anthrocon, and that is the extensive shuttle buses for the AC hotels. Their website explains in detail which hotels are confirmed to have shuttle services and what specific routes and times they operate over the weekend. Now, if you're lucky enough to snag the host hotel, then you will find yourself at the Westin Pittsburgh, located on 1000 Penn Avenue. What is great about this host hotel is that it's accessible via the Sky Bridge to the David L. Lawrence Convention Center, where the convention is being held, and only a 20-second walk down to the riverfront. Considering the sheer level of heat you experience during the summer temperatures at this con, you will be thankful if you get a room there, or at least at one of the few hotels within a minute walk of the convention center. Now, as I'm talking about all this, you will probably wonder what the overall structure and layout of the con is, because it seems quite spread out. Well, you would be right in some regards. The hotel themselves may be spread out all over the city, but the actual convention itself is majority run in the convention center, with the exception to a small part in the Westin second floor. So everything is in one place, thus also easily regulated and monitored by security and staff. Though a partial downside to some is that the convention space is huge. So a lot of floors and a lot of walking will take place as you navigate through the many levels of the con. So thankfully, there are accessibility options like elevators throughout the con spaces for those that need to get around. And AC also suggests, if you need it, to consider renting necessary equipment, like a mobility device, for those long distances across each floor. Now, speaking of distance, for those that are not in the main hotel and have to travel a bit to the convention center, Anthrocon partnered up with pop-up lockers as an option for those that want to store their stuff. Security and staff is stationed at the lockers, however, there is no changing space in that area. There are also 4 floors at the convention center, with one floor taking you all the way up to the rooftop, which gives you a stellar view of the city and the riverfront and several places to sit down and relax. Now, I won't go so deep into the hotel rooms, but I will say that my hotel room at the Westin was really good. I don't have really any complaints other than the maids going into my room while I was sleeping with the lights off and the do not disturb sign on the door handle. It was like a very unprofessional and uncomfortable experience, I'm not gonna lie. But the spacing of the rooms I went into, include my own, were spaced out pretty nicely, leaving a good bit of room for luggage and fursuits. And the room stayed pretty cool too, thank God, because man, it was hot outside. And I will also note, I went into several other rooms on other hotels like the Marriott and the Homewood Suites, to name a few, and all were very pretty nice too. Some hotels also had cool accommodations like this lit outdoor barbecue rooftop area at the Homewood Suites, which a bunch of us hung out with and did a cookout and enjoyed the sun. And some of my friends also took part in their hotel's pool area for a little get-together, which I heard was quite refreshing and fun. Again, lots of options and spacing make up this massive con, so make sure you have your walking shoes on and also choose the appropriate accommodations that work for you and your needs. Another big thing for attendees at a con is their accessibility to food and drinks. And for the many cons I have attended, some areas do hit the mark while others kind of fall short. For me, I find Anthrocon to be somewhere in the middle. Not the best, but definitely not the worst. One benefit that has changed over the years is that the companies around the area are starting to realize how lucrative the con can be for their business, prompting them to stay open over the weekend and for way longer hours. And the area around the con is in a kind of like business district in ways, in that not many places really stay open late or during the weekend. But luckily, as I said, that has changed a bit. It's easy to grab a fast bite at places like Condados Tacos and Pizza Parma, which also provide attendees with merch and the known dog bowl at a cost. There are also some very nice upper scale places like Fogo de Chao, which me and my friends hit up on Saturday and left us rolling out the door since we ate so much. Side note, there's also an Olive Garden in the area my friends had to drag me to, but as a Sicilian, don't do it even if they give you unlimited breadsticks. I will say that they had a lot of laughs watching me complain and make the odd face or two. Now, inside the con, you have your obligatory concession stands with the con space, one outside the dealer's den and artist alley area, and a few inside that venue. And honestly, I have to say the food wasn't too bad, and there were a decent variety outside the basic chicken fingers and fries and burgers. Though, I will admit, I did get some chicken fingers at one point. Now, on the booze and drink side of things, there are several bars within walking distance and a couple of food places, including ones like Pizza Parma, that have options for buying drinks with your food. Now, a lot of these bars do stay open all weekend and late at night, but the beer and liquor stores are kind of a 50-50, in that some do close very early, like around 6 p.m., while the other odd couple close around the 11 p.m. mark. This is way better though than past years, where finding any drinks in the city was pretty hard. But honestly, little tip, if you could bring your own stuff with you and buy what you need before you get to the con, that would be my best choice in my opinion. It's what I did, and it saved me a lot of stress and time. Another highlight that brings attendees to a con are the events that they are offering for the weekend. Now, some events, even if they're done at other cons, can be transformed into something even more special, based on the effort, time, and atmosphere the con brings. So one of these events that is an absolute highlight of the Anthrocon and the city of Pittsburgh is the Fursuit Parade. This parade draws in a crowd, and by a crowd, I'm talking about practically the whole city. People from even outside the city and state come to check out the Fursuit Parade. It kind of reminds me of my experiences when I walked in a big pride parade, seeing tons of people and families cheering us on and enjoying the vibe. Even the news outlets covers the Fursuit Parade. The parade itself starts out inside and gradually makes its way outside, so everyone has a chance to get in on the event, no matter if you're part of the convention or not. I will note that the sheer volume of fursuiters that participate at the event, it will take a good while before you're done marching in the parade. And with it being, again, super hot outside, I highly recommend you drink plenty of water prior and have a portable fan with you if possible. Now, right after the Fursuit Parade will be the Anthrocon Block Party. The city of Pittsburgh blocks off the streets of Penn Avenue from the 9th to 11th Street for furries and Pittsburgh locals to interact. This event is entirely outdoors with a temporary fursuit headless zone for all the fursuiters. Though, I will reiterate again, it is usually very hot outside, so be smart if you are in suit. Additionally, there are food and refreshment services around, including some basic food trucks, so it's an easy way to grab a bite when you're out and about. A super fun event for all Anthrocon attendees and the Pittsburgh locals. Another big highlight that I too spent a lot of time at, as well as my wallet, was the Artist Alley and Dealer's Den. Anthrocon has the biggest and best one in my opinion, full stop. And when I mean big, I mean huge. It's like walking to an airplane hangar, but instead of a sea of planes, you have furry artists and merch. To further show you how big it is, they separate the rows alphabetically, starting at row A and goes all the way to row U, plus 2 additional rows that are covered by the 18+ section. So my friends had to put on their active locations on their phones just to be able to find each other. The atmosphere is great in this dealer den and artist alley areas, and there are many things to choose from, so it's hard to pick up just one thing. Again, I walked away with several pieces of artwork, including my new com badge. Moving over to an outside event that is unique to the con is the Anthrocon River Cruises. The river cruises are a great way to enjoy the sights and scenery around Pittsburgh while gently cruising along the Allegheny River. They also offer cocktail cruises as an option as well. Fursuits are also welcome aboard any cruise, and there will be water provided on board. A great opportunity if you're looking for a different fursuiting experience and taking some awesome photos. The boarding for these cruises take place at the Convention Center Riverfront Plaza where the con is being held. If indoor events are more your style, but you want an electrifying experience, then look no further than the Fursuit Dance Competition and Floor Wars. The Fursuit Dance Competition is filled with high energy action and some of the furry fandom's most talented performers. Floor Wars, in partnership with Last for One Dance Crew, brings together the furry fandom's most talented dancers in an ultimate all-style dance battle event which dancers can participate in and out of fursuit. Both events will leave you bouncing off of your seats and wanting more as these talented dancers compete. Also, fun fact, Floor Wars was first debuted at Anthrocon in 2012 by the Last for One Dance Crew, which has inspired the furry fandom worldwide with similar events. Now, this particular event that goes on every night of the con left me in awe, and that being the nightly DJ dances. I'm sure you're asking, but why are these dances in particular so amazing, Coda? They're like at every furry convention. Well, let me tell you. For one, the staging for the dances, which was also the staging for several events during the con, was an absolute work of art. They really leaned into the theme for the con, making the stage of props you would see at a theater show. So, with that being said, I wanted to take a moment to shout out the amazing people behind the staging. The main stage was done by Freeze Badger and Retcon with the help from Helios, Holly, Nieto, Paradox, and Freeze's mom and dad. And the LED wall content was done by Nullref, Etrio, Owen, and Puraku. Now, speaking of lights, the second reason is the light shows going on during the dances was pure fire. Like, it really hyped me up and everyone on the dance floor. Plus, they had 2 huge screens on each side of the stage where dancers were performing live through VR. And on the topic of VR, there was even a VR chat portal at the back of the dances for furries to watch the con that couldn't attend and for attendees to interact with those in the VR space. It was so fun and memorable getting to see some of our friends in VR at the portal and sharing that con experience with them. Lighting, staging, VR integration, and amazing DJs, Anthrocon killed it with their nightly dances. But wait, there's more. There is an official/unofficial event that is very unique to Anthrocon and was a blast being a part of, and that was the Riverfront Hangout and Nightly Raves. There is a huge river called the Allegheny River that is located behind the convention center, accessible by a beautiful walkway leading to the river. There you will find furries hanging out, partying, and enjoying the company of one another day and night. During the day is a great place to chill with friends and grab some amazing fursuit photos, and at night, party until the sun comes up with DJs dropping some beats and attendees coming out in droves with fursuits, fun attire, and even karaoke machines. I really had a blast hitting it up at night and participating in some of the dancing and karaoke performances. Definitely a must if you go to this con. Also, to wrap up the con events, I would also like to note that Anthrocon also has a large assortment of panels, events, and staging performances throughout the entire weekend, so make sure to check them out and support. To wrap up this video of Anthrocon, I want to take a moment to highlight not only the great things that make this con so special, but also some of the misses that happened during the weekend. So, starting with a huge miss was registration. Now, for those that were there and watched the chaos unfold on Twitter, you would know that the reg line was insane. The line was so bad at the start of the convention, and continued the following day, mind you, that it wrapped around the convention center twice and went out to the side street and down the cultural district where the food and the shops are located on Penn Avenue. There is never a situation where this is acceptable of a convention, especially when the temperature outside is 90 to 100 degrees with humidity. I saw people being treated by paramedics, to others telling them that they threw up due to the heat, to others just giving up. And the wait time at multiple points was between 4 to 6 hours, with a lot of my friends finishing around a 5.5-hour wait time. And what's worse, Anthrocon made no exception to letting attendees into the convention center without a badge. So if you didn't get your badge, you couldn't get into the con space nor attend any of the events, leaving a lot of the attendees feeling very defeated. So let me level with everyone. Cons are not going to get smaller, and it's very clear in the Anthrocon pre-registration that the numbers were going to be substantial. Anthrocon, and all cons for that matter, need to take accountability and start investing in better technology and solutions when it comes to registration. There are not-furry cons that we as congoers have been to that have 50 to 100K attendance and waited no time at all. Also, Furry Weekend Atlanta, a prime example on what you do right, had a 50% increase in attendance this year, and I still got my badge in under 45 minutes. We have the resources, intelligence, experience, and talent in the fandom to make this experience better and safer for all attendees. So let's tap into this and level up. Speaking of making things better, and this goes out to not only Anthrocon, but mostly all US cons I've attended this year, for the love of everything that is furry, make an actually good Headless Lounge, put some money and time into it. It's not that hard. And the European furry conventions have proved time and time again that it is possible. So let's do it already. Now, on to some positives. I love to point out that the elevators at the main hotel, and for most part during the weekend in the convention center, was actually pretty good and well regulated. Fursuiters and accessibility needs were given priority all the time for what I saw and experienced, and the wait times weren't that bad. Also, one of the biggest positives and what makes Anthrocon so unique is its connection relationship with the city of Pittsburgh. In that, there are no other host cities in the world that treat furries the way that Pittsburgh welcomes them. From the continual positive news coverage to the locals flocking to say hi, the energy and positivity can be felt throughout the entirety of the city. you truly feel safe and the love as you roam the streets and the convention spaces. In conclusion, Anthrocon holds up to other cons with some of its unique features and the undeniable feat of creating a positive experience and synergy with the city it's hosted in. Now, do I think Anthrocon is the best con? Personally, not my top 3. But there are many great things to this con to make anyone's experience a memorable one. Thank you all for watching my video highlighting Anthrocon 2024. Leave a comment and let me know what you think of this video and your experiences at Anthrocon. Also, make sure to hit that like, follow, subscribe, for it's the best way to support this doggo and how I'm able to buy more treats. You don't want to deny me more treats, do you? And as always, till next time, you all stay awesome.